Welcome back to the Fighters Corner podcast for another podcast episode. In this episode, we recap the Sergey Kovalev versus Anthony Yarde fight and what an incredible bout that was between the two. We also previewed the upcoming Vasyl Lomachenko versus Cambell boxing match and laid down some predictions of that as well. And we discussed some big bouts coming up in the heavyweight boxing world. All this and much more. So tune in, relax, listen to the podcast, hit like, subscribe, and share. Enjoy the show. So who are you taking in this weekend's fights? I know who I got, and it's not who you think. So I'm going to take my picks over to the world's safest and most trusted online gambling site and make a few bets. That's right, it's BetDSI.com. With more than 20 years' experience in the online gaming industry, BetDSI has the best sign-up and deposit promotions on the web. They also boast more deposit options than any other betting site, including fast, free, and secure payouts. Also, for our listeners, they are offering a special promotion where you can build a bigger bankroll and get 100% sports cash bonus when using our promo code Fighters Corner, all one word. That's 50% more sports cash by using our promo code Fighters Corner. Check out BetDSI for all your online gaming needs.
This episode is sponsored by B2 Digital. B2 Digital is doing some really cool things in the mixed martial art world. They're kind of creating a farm league for the bigger shows, and they are listed on a publicly traded company, listed on a stock exchange, BTDG on the stock exchange. They support our show. Guys, please, if you guys like this show, please give them a look, and if you can throw some support their way, man, it'd be greatly appreciated.
Also, please don't forget to subscribe, hit like, share, all because you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Radio Player, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, and the guy sitting next to you on the train is probably listening to us too. And if you can, show us your support by finding us on Patreon, where you can let us know how much you love us. And if you're a fan of boxing, jiu-jitsu, kumite, and even capoeira, go check out my guys at UCL MMA. These guys are the heavyweight champions of mixed martial arts shows. And if you think you're the next Johnny Lawrence, go to their website at uclmma.com, shoot them an email and tell them John sent you before asking their matchmaker that you want to defend your All-Valley Karate Championship versus one of their fighters. That's uclmma.com.
You're still running the asylum here at the Fighters Corner. I'm Miguel Arabi, and I have a couple of hostages here, John Goratsky and Michael Davis, and I'm going to force them to talk boxing with me. How's everybody out there?
Man, do you see how good he is?
That was
John?
good. That was actually really good.
Did you take some notes on that one?
I did.
Yeah, me too. It's all right. I was blown away.
Miguel.
What are we talking about, dude? Dude, boxing's hot right now.
And we had a good weekend, man.
What?
Miguel, what'd you watch on Saturday?
Okay, we can start with the big fight in Russia where, WBO light heavyweight champion Sergey Kovalev kind of fighting at home, facing the challenge of Anthony Yarde. Yarde, he put in the work in England where he's from and was coming into this fight with a lot of hype and, had his moments in the fight, especially in the 8th round. But eventually he fell to Kovalev, which, sets Kovalev up for more big fights in the future.
Do you think Kovalev, John, in your opinion, did he appear old in this fight?
No. He looked chiseled. He looked like, to me, in my opinion.
Not looked. Did he appear in terms of his performance?
I think at times.
Yeah, I think his best days are behind him.
But you know what, though? Like, looking at his physique, man, like, you've seen abs, man. Okay. I mean, like, he...
All right. Where was this fight at?
Russia.
Okay.
Dun, dun, dun. You know what, though? Like, I'm going to give props to him because not to him, but to the broadcast. Because, man, like, you're watching it and you turn on the fight and visually you don't know where it's at until you actually see a prompt on the screen. Okay? I mean, the way how the brain thinks, You watch it and everything is red. There's red lights in the crowd. There's red curtains hanging up. Like, everything is red. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is Russia. And I thought production was super cool, man. I'd love to see more fights in Russia, man, because it was so cool to watch.
I enjoyed it as well, but you also got to imagine, if you're going to Russia under any circumstances and you're fighting a hometown guy, the likelihood of you getting some sort of fair decision or the process is being, the playing field being level on both sides in terms of the process leading up into the fight.
Yeah, I agree.
You got to go there for a big payday.
Right.
And this is Yarde's first loss, too.
Yeah, and he rolled those dice, and he ended up, he almost, in the 8th round, he almost won.
I think he pushed his cardio too much, and he burned out. But he looked like a world-class fighter, which is something that there were still question marks on in regards to his performances up until this point.
In the middle of the 8th round, or actually I should say towards the end of the 8th round, I was telling myself, please, someone throw the towel in for Kovalev because this is not going to end well. I mean, I swear to God, I think the last time I seen a boxing fight that vicious was when Rocky fought Ivan Drago in Russia. There was no blocking. I mean, he was taking straight shots to the head. I'm like, when is this dude going down? And if he doesn't, someone's got to throw the towel in.
Yeah.
And then in between rounds 8 and 9, in my opinion, the turning point in that fight was when Buddy McGirt.
Dude, is that guy amazing?
Yep.
Is he awesome?
Grabbed him by the junk.
Hall of Famer.
Oh, yeah. Dude.
Hall of Fame trainer.
Walking HOF.
Well, he just got inducted.
He grabbed him by the junk and told him, if you don't step it up in the 9th round, I'm throwing in the towel. And you hear Kovalev say, no, don't, no. And after that, once that 9th round started, man, you've seen a different Kovalev. And
and for Buddy McGirt to transition from just losing a fighter in the ring, that's not easy.
No. And I'll also tell you something else that I really enjoyed on this ESPN broadcast. I really enjoyed Timothy Bradley doing the announcing along with Andre Ward. Man, listening to them, I feel like I could listen to them all day. I wish they'd do more of that. But Timothy Bradley, there was a part in the fight where Yarde slipped. He slipped in the 10th round, and Timothy Bradley's like, dude, he's probably not going to get up because he's exhausted himself so much. It is so difficult to pick yourself up when you're that tired. And later on, I think it was in the 10th or 11th or whatever it was, he got hit with a jab, and he went down. Mm-hmm. So people were automatically saying, oh, look, he got knocked out by a jab. No, dude.
He was done.
There was zero gas in that gas tank.
Yeah.
You could have blew into his ear, and he would have fell over.
Yeah.
But again, props to Kovalev for responding after that 8th round.
And I'd say Yarde. I mean, when you're going to Russia, that's not an easy adjustment.
Oh no,
it's when someone from here fights in Japan or China, it's not an easy adjustment.
No,
in fact,
absolutely not, man.
It's almost as if 20% of you leaves before you even step in front of that into the ring. And I was impressed with Yarde, and you know what? Boxing is about levels, and boxing is about gears. And I think that this fight is going to allow Yarde to kind of understand what he needs to do. As hard as he was walking into that fight, I think now he understands the mental aspect of having to be better.
Yeah, I agree with that. I really do. And
if you're going to go out on a loss, it's good not to get stretchered out of there, flatlined.
Yeah.
You know, and it didn't happen to him. And he can see he was very close to being a world champion.
Oh, yeah. I'm telling you, man, in that 8th round, dude, I'm sitting here, please, someone throw the towel in for Kovalev. I'm yelling at my tablet. I'm throw the effing towel in because he's not blocking punches anymore. You're looking at, a dude.
Punching bag.
A punching bag.
Yeah.
And Buddy McGirt just went through this. And I'm like, man, just throw it in. But, he survived it. He went through it. Buddy McGirt trusted him. He threatened him. He responded to the threat. And he followed up with finishing, I think it was in the 11th.
Yeah, finishing 11th. Miguel, what do you think is next for Kovalev, in your opinion?
Well, I think we'll hear that the rhetoric that started a couple of weeks back about Canelo Alvarez pick up again. And I think that we'll see that's going to get some serious talk on there. I think Canelo has sort of earmarked Kovalev for some of the reasons you mentioned. That he may be slowing down a little bit and things like that. And it's a big jump in weight for Canelo, so he must see something. But I think both parties are interested, and that's halfway to the fight. So I think that's the most interesting. What awaits him, in the light heavyweight weight class besides that is a murderer's row of guys that are a lot younger and hungrier than he is. So I think that we'll see him actively push for the Canelo fight. It makes the most sense and is the biggest payday.
Miguel, how does it transition from discussing Triple G versus Canelo to now Kovalev versus Canelo? How How do we go from one to the other within a matter of 2 or 3 weeks?
I wonder how Canelo. Go ahead, Miguel. Answer John's question.
Well, I think that what we're seeing is Canelo exercise what he considers his right, and that is that he's the A side here. So as the A side, he's looking for opponents whenever he wants. I think he's already, before, we may have been talking about it, but he's made the decision to shun Triple G long before the last couple of weeks, And I think that the Kovalev was a little bit of a surprise when his name came up, but again, it makes sense. He's actually, style-wise, kind of similar to Golovkin, hard-hitting, taller, than Canelo, and so style-wise, it's a similar fight to what he was looking there, and it would add a light heavyweight world championship for him, which now he's in heavy territory in terms of the number of weight classes he's held belts in.
I'm not. So sure.
Yeah, I think that's what they're exploring.
I'm not sure that's a wise move for Canelo.
Well, you just said that Kovalev looked human or looked a little bit older.
It's the best opportunity for Canelo to do something like that is right now.
Yeah.
And it's weird how the playing field has given Canelo that ability to maneuver.
Yeah.
I mean, the one issue he had was fighting Floyd Jr. too young, which Floyd was the master at getting guys way too young and getting them put out of title contention in order to get the other guys. Don't let him mature. Don't let him bring him along. I'm getting him when he's green. And I think that's too much weight. I think Canelo, I mean, you're talking about a guy that's failed 2 drug tests already, for steroids. He's going to have to fail a third if he wants to fight Kovalev.
I don't have the same concerns that you do. I see. Okay, Miguel, do you remember when Andre Ward fought Kovalev? What was the thing that Andre Ward kept doing to Kovalev to get that win? Body shots. And right now, Canelo is he's
one of the best. One of the best
right now.
One of the best active fighters
right
throwing
now.
Body shots.
Right.
I agree with you.
So it's like, and when you put those two together, I mean, regardless of the weight, they're both boxers, they're both athletes, and I think that you got to give Canelo the edge. I'm actually pretty happy for Kovalev because I don't think he's got a big payday up until this point. I mean, am I wrong with that, Miguel? Has he gotten a big payday up until this point? Like a big.
I mean,
like,
the Ward paydays were 7-figure paydays, but not like he would be in line for with the Canelo fight.
Right,
You're right.
Right. So, I mean, what's left in Kovalev?
The main thing to point out here is that Canelo always will operate like the A side, right? So keep in mind and look what he did when he won the middleweight title. Against Miguel Cotto, exactly the same type of scenario. Cotto wound, had the belt, but he was seen as a guy in that case where he was small for that belt. He had won it from Sergio Martinez, who was hurt. And at middleweight, Cotto was a susceptible middleweight. So there goes Canelo, jumps up to middleweight, grabs the belt, and then pussyfoots around defending it and doesn't want to get to middleweight or whatever. And then goes ahead and jumps, to middleweight at making his call. So he could very well fight Kovalev, earn the light heavyweight belt. No one will ever be able to take that away from him on his resume. But then he could leave those belts and come back to them in a couple of years or not come back to them at all. He's already gotten them.
What do you think happens in that fight, Miguel, with Kovalev and Canelo? Who do you think takes that?
Yeah, I think I think that Canelo, in this particular case, I see what I think Canelo's camp sees, and that's Kovalev, by virtue of being tall, lanky, and aging, is going to be susceptible to the body attack, and that Canelo's, brings a particularly sharp body attack. So I think, if the fight plays out correctly, we'll be saying that, Kovalev was tailor-made for him.
Okay. Now, what would you say about Andre Ward versus Canelo?
I don't think Canelo does that.
Okay, well, it's the same weight.
Yeah, I know, but for all the reasons that we've been talking about, the main thing is that Canelo's exercising his right as the A side. And that is that, all conditions have to be right, including the opponent has to be approved and he has to feel comfortable for him. Andre Ward, at the end of the day, still, it's arguable now, even though he won twice, whether Andre Ward moves the radar or the Q score blip more than Kovalev does. Kovalev, despite the 2 losses, kind of bounced back, and he was a decorated champion for so long. Where's the most money going to be held? Like, especially if you consider X factors, like, if Canelo wanted to really cash in and go to Russia for this fight, or, Canelo's looking to make money, and that's what it is. And I don't think Ward is a risk reward is going to meet Canelo's cutting point.
Yeah, no, I don't think that happens. Miguel, speaking of Russian boxers, any other Russian boxers got a fight coming up?
Eastern European. I don't know about Russia.
Now that is just like calling Filipino people Chinese.
Yeah, that's so offensive.
That's not right. He's Ukrainian, my friend.
Yeah.
He is a Russian.
And you're talking about Vasyl Lomachenko. I think everybody's excited for that.
Actually,
we got
no. Pump the brakes. I'm talking about Povetkin.
He's so full of shit. He was talking about Lomachenko. Go ahead.
I got to put that up there.
Yeah, you got us.
Good save, John.
Yeah, John.
Yeah.
You got your agents right. Good for you.
Good save.
Yeah. Well, didn't they?
I mean, literally, after the Povetkin Huey Fury fight, I'm shutting it off. I mean, I'm not even going to sit for that. I don't even want to see the final. Loma who?
Yeah.
So we got Lomachenko. He's going to England, which takes him a little bit out of his wheelhouse. But, if you consider his wheelhouse is probably the whole goddamn world, it doesn't going to make much of a difference. He's facing Luke Cambell, another guy that comes to here with an Olympic gold medal. So in terms of pedigree and talk, they've given Eddie Hearn plenty of fuel for the promotional aspect of it. But I don't think this one goes anyway. But, Campbell going down for the 3rd time in his career.
Do you think he gets finished?
Does Loma want to finish him? I don't know. If Loma does what he wants, maybe he wants to go 12 rounds this time. Maybe he wants to do something. I think pretty much what I'm getting at is that Loma's going to have his way in this fight. Campbell, I expect Campbell to go down fighting. I think that's the best thing we can say for him. I think that they're sort of, giving you the smoke and mirrors game and saying, pedigree, he's right up there with Lomachenko. He won a gold medal.
Yeah, in 2008, yeah.
I don't buy that at all. And, I think that we'll see a cavernous difference in the technique here if Lomachenko, doesn't have a bad day.
Well, I believe, one, Lomachenko has got a ton of miles on him. I mean, no one can argue that. I mean, he's an absolute wizard, inside the ring, but he has a lot of miles on him. And the thing about Campbell is he's long, he's heavier, and he's taller. The only way you're going to beat Lomachenko is you're going to have to eat his punch, which Campbell had issues with Linares with, but still brought Linares, even though he got knocked down, I think it was like in the 3rd or 4th round. Even against Linares, even though he got knocked down in that round, he still lost a split decision. With Lomachenko, you're going to have to use your size and length, and you're going to have to walk through a lot of punches, and you're going to have to insert your will. I hate to say this. Campbell got knocked down against Linares when he decided to have a shootout with him.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much the only way he's going to beat Lomachenko.
Just a shootout?
He's going to have a shootout because he recovered well from that knockdown. As a betting man, would I throw money on it? Not a lot, but I think if the odds are juicy enough, Campbell's no punk, man. Like
he's got his reach.
He's not a punk.
He's not a punk, and he's got high boxing IQ.
He's got high boxing IQ, and he's definitely not afraid.
No.
I think some of these guys have been with Lomachenko.
I think so. You're right. I agree with that. I really do.
But I don't think Campbell. I shouldn't say I don't think. I know Campbell's not afraid.
No, I don't think so. And that could help him probably get a little bit further than anybody else has.
I mean, when he faced adversity against Linares or Linares, I'm from the South Side, dude. Any 3 of those are going to work. I think when you saw him face like adversity on that knockdown, you kind of saw what he was made of. And he got knocked down, and he battled back and won a bunch of rounds after that.
Yeah.
He just had some issues. Like, Linares kept getting him, like, at the end of the exchanges, he'd get that one extra punch in. And I think the only way anyone... I mean, the guy... Lomachenko gives you 14 feints a minute. Like, that ain't easy.
And it's so pretty, too.
It's gorgeous. But at the end of the day, the only way that Cambell wins this is in a shootout, and he's going to have to do it. Yeah. Because what Lomachenko does is, like, you watch the beginning of the fight, and you're just like, oh, man, like, he's really worked on his cardio.
Yeah.
He's got a high output. And then you get to rounds 9, 10, 11, and 12, and he increases the output.
It's disgusting, isn't it?
He's going to go down as one of the greatest fighters ever. Like, he is the modern-day Roy Jones Jr. When Roy Jones Jr. was at the peak of his career, that's what Lomachenko is right now.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got, 12 fights in his career, I think, in his professional career. Close to 400 on his amateur circuit.
Yeah. Well, he won 2 gold medals. He won it in 2008 and 2012.
Yeah.
And when I saw him win, I mean, I don't know if you're a fan of Olympic boxing or not.
Oh, yeah.
I am as well. When I saw him win for the second time, dude, I watched him fight live here in Chicago in 2007. Mm-hmm. So when I saw him win for that second gold medal, I'm like, it's going to be one of those Eastern European cats that never turns pro. And when he did, man, I was pretty excited about it.
Yeah, and he's collected a lot of medal along the way, too.
Yeah,
12 fights, so
he likes 2 of everything.
Yeah. And I agree with you. But when it's all said and done with, man, he might go down as one of the greatest of all time.
100%.
And
let's really kind of push this right now. What kind of distractions, Miguel? You'd probably be better at this than we would. What kind of distractions have you heard Lomachenko being in outside of the ring?
Yeah, no, I mean, he's trained by his father, and, it looks to be a very close-knit family kind of atmosphere around the training, as well as, the fact that they pulled in guys like Alexander Usyk and things like that. So it's like, you don't get to those levels without having, focus, drive, at an extreme level. So you get that combined with, also kind of like a relatively wholesome family type of atmosphere. And that's the image that comes along with Lomachenko, more than anything else. And, not a lifestyle guy, a guy who's already worrying about his legacy.
That's pretty incredible. Like the maturity that he has, like as a fighter, not only inside the ring, but outside the ring,
he has it.
Well, I think that's one of the more intimidating things about him. He's a machine. He has no feelings. He is a machine that is just pirouetting through the rest of the division, and just in such a graceful manner to where, I mean, just carving him up like butter.
Yeah.
And that's a guy, like, you want to talk about legacy? That's a guy that's going to have to start moving up in weight classes.
Yeah, he's going to start having to pull what, like, Canelo's doing. But also, too, they asked him, like, hey, what do you think about, fighting a guy like Canelo or something like that? And he's like, I can't do that. He's like, I'm moving up. These guys are longer than me. They're taller than me. They hit harder than me. I think from what he said in that interview, I think he sticks around maybe between 1-2 weight classes. He's not going to do like Canelo where he's like jumping all over the board.
Well, he's got to get Canelo's trainer. Get some of that Mexican meat.
Get that Mexican meat, yeah.
Yeah, those supplements.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of fights that I think I'd love to see with Lomachenko. Mm-hmm. I think Gervonta Davis would be a really good one.
Gervonta's never been pushed. I think going into that,
and
I think Gervonta would have be a pretty big head case.
Floyd wouldn't probably let that happen until
Lomachenko was old
in a wheelchair. Yeah, and I think another one that I like to see too is Teofimo Lopez, and I'd like to see those guys get challenged too, man. Like it's real exciting in that division to see these guys.
I mean, what he did to Rigondeaux was just crazy.
Oh yeah, it was fun. So I'm going to make it official and say the Fighters Corner podcast prediction for this fight is going to be a late round TKO or even a KO.
I think it's going to be in about 8th round.
I think 8th and beyond is right there where I think it's not going to go to 12. If it goes to a decision, then Cambell gets a lot of my respect because he survived a monster. If it doesn't,
he's long though, man. Like if he gets on his horse, kind of like I'm not talking like a Chavez Jr. horse, but Cambell. I think when he gets in a shootout, he gets too wild, but the dude can hit.
Yeah. Oh no, he can. He can, but also too, you're dealing with Lomachenko.
About someone that doesn't get hit.
No. Yeah,
you don't want to be the heir around Lomachenko for that fight.
Yeah, that's
right.
True.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be the air around his head. Yeah, no, that would hurt.
No, man.
That's pretty good, Miguel. See, yeah. See, I told you, John. Every once in a while, Miguel comes through with a good comment or two.
Get a little chicken nugget.
Hey, Miguel, have you had one of those Popeye chicken sandwiches yet?
No, he's a Chick-fil-A.
No, I live overseas.
Oh.
To remind you, and Popeyes is not big down here.
But from what I understand, they're putting powdered cocaine inside that chicken batter. But I don't know. It's making people go bonkers up here. Spread that, everybody. Spread that.
Hot take.
So,
Allegedly.
Right, thank you. I coughed.
Another true story that I just heard.
Miguel, anything else on the horizon boxing-wise that interests you, that piques your interest?
I don't know. You want to sneak to talk about the Huey Fury-Povetkin co-feature for Lomachenko?
Why? Why is this happening? Why is this happening?
You got the Fury Light performing here, but this could be his last stand with a loss here. It'd be a third loss on his career, and I think you would separate him further from his cousin and put him in the B circuit.
And to call it like a guy like Povetkin at that age, 39 years old. I know
they're serving him up. They're giving him a decent payday to come in and get beat up.
Yeah.
It's probably just a show purse. There's no win purse attached to it. And when you get a decent show purse, you just kind of think to yourself, well, if I work really hard, I still make the same money.
Yeah. It's a fight that he can probably get a win and extend his A-circuit career maybe a few more fights. You know what I mean? Yeah. But then eventually he's going to run into another problem, another two problems. He's not like his cousin, and his cousin's in a different world, and he's never going to see it.
Yeah, well, Tyson's supposed to be living in Vegas now, so that's interesting.
Yeah.
Another thing is they're announcing a hard date, for Wilder and Ortiz. It's going to be in November.
Yeah. That is alleged.
Well, they keep moving it.
Yeah,
they keep moving it.
How many times have they been moved?
Well, it's being moved, John, because it's a negotiating tactic, which I am sure the Fury management has listened to our podcast in the last few weeks, and I've heard that, and it just went just as I suspected, while raising like an index finger. Every time they move this date. And do you know what's going on with Ortiz behind the stage? This is how grimy boxing is. Do you know what's happening with Ortiz right now?
Lay it on me.
They're paying him to agree with all this nonsense. Why would you take that fight before probably the largest payday of your career and the biggest bout in boxing right now? Right. The biggest bout is Fury Wilder too. So it's like, why would you even? Let's say I got $100 in my pocket. Do I spend $25 on scratch-off tickets, or do I save all $100 and cash in on a gigantic payday later on? It's not even. It doesn't even make sense.
Do you want to roll those dice? I think that's what it comes down to. You know what I mean? Like that's money talks.
Do you know what I do right now, John? Do you know what I do right now? If you're talking about Wilder Ortiz too,
go ahead and lay it on me.
Miguel, what I do is I go to betdsi.com or
betdsi.eu.
And then I look in there and I say to myself, there's no way this fight is happening. And I go over and I look at, what are those prop bets? It's called a prop bet, right? And I go, there's no way this fight is taking place. And I put a wager, which I think it's actually plus 235 right now. And I first I throw $100 in my account, and then I put in a promo code.
Fighters Corner.
And what is that? What happens?
Double your money.
What? I double my money and I put every single penny that I've ever put towards my child's education, like save it away for her college, and I throw it on Ortiz and Wilder. Not happening. That's what I would do.
What are the odds of that happening, Miguel? Would Mike have to apologize to his daughter?
Would we go Christmas again because I wasted all of the money I was supposed to spend on gifts for my 11-year-old child, Miguel? Do you think that fight's taking place?
I think it's an open question. I think, there's been a lot of talk about it. The thing that you got to also hinge on here is that Tyson Fury's fighting in September. Now, granted, he's fighting, a lesser opponent than Luis Ortiz, but every fight represents an inherent risk. And, there may be some, tactic on Wilder's part, if he's going to do a fight, I'm going to do a fight, and I'm going to grab a payday first or whatever it is. And, at the end of the day, he's beaten Ortiz before. We know Wilder doesn't lack for confidence. He's going to get more credit than Fury has for Fury's opponent. So, try to look at the bright side. But, yeah, I think in general that you're right. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, not to me.
No, not at all. So, that's what I would do. So, with that, Miguel Iturrate, always a pleasure. You came through once again. You always kind of give us the lowdown of what's happening and in the boxing world, and we appreciate you joining us, man.
We love you, Miguel.
Well, thanks for having me, guys, and get out there and like and subscribe to Fighters Corner on YouTube, and hit the little bell so you get notifications and you stay on top of things. These guys are cranking out a lot of interviews and a lot of stuff with people beyond the news stuff, and they're always worthwhile, so worth your time.
Miguel, if I may interject, when I said thanks for help, being here, man, that was M-Y-N, because I know you're very sensitive with gender pronouns. So that wasn't me calling you an actual man, M-A-N. It was M-Y-N, okay?
Okay. I'm still confused, but that's okay. That's how we got here in the first place. Right?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
and that's a wrap.
Without any shame or anything, I can say this: take it easy, ladies.
Miguel,
take care. Always a pleasure, buddy.